Hi guys, welcome to Astrology and Earth Magic. I'm Jen and I'm here to talk about the full moon in Taurus that is coming up on November 5th. That's a Wednesday at 8:19 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So I'm putting this video out a little bit early because I think that this full moon in particular could use a little mental preparation. And this is kind of what I talked about with the new moon, is just really kind of getting by yourself and pulling away, staying home alone to kind of get to know yourself. And really it's a good way to prepare for what's going to take place with this full moon. So as October was a lot calmer, more peaceful, thanks to Libra, who is that promoter of peace and equality and mediation. We had good news with the peace treaties and with ceasefires over in the Middle East and the hostages being released after years in captivity. So that is that. You see that Libra mediation happening there. And we also had the No Kings marches for a couple of days prior to that new moon that were mostly peaceful. Well, I think they were all peaceful. I don't think any big incidents happened at any of them. So we do see that kind of more peacefulness happening with that new moon. Besides some of the signs that I did see that were at some of these protests with people saying get your guns and you need to attack like ICE agents or, attack authority, or we'd love to see, the president, dead, like do your job. I think one was said, do your job, cholesterol or something like that. So, just some negative stuff that, hopefully didn't really plant a bad seed. So that's what the new moon does. It plants the seed that then grows. Hopefully it's not a bad seed that's going to grow with the waxing moon phase. So, is it a seed of tension that could be building up, impulsiveness, rebellion, just led by that just high emotion that can result in violence. So, again, hopefully you did take the time, as I discussed in that new moon video, which I'll link at the end, just so you can rewatch, because it is still pretty early. It just happened at the beginning of this week. But I hope that you took that time during this waxing phase to really take care of you. And, like I said, Venus was kind of sitting all by herself without making any real aspects. So it kind of gave you a need to maybe sit by yourself at home and, just kind of put your phone down and be alone a little bit and just really get to know you instead. So hopefully you did some nice healing, or you're working on doing some healing and introspection to really get to know you and your needs, your in particular needs, and not what you think that everyone else wants around you. It's always giving, and especially in Libra, it's you're doing things for somebody else a lot of times, for your partner. And now with that Venus by yourself kind of encouraged us to kind of take care of ourselves instead of always trying to take care of others. So but that balancing and harmonious Libra new moon gave us a chance to find that peace within. So hopefully you are working on that as we now are, waxing in that waxing moon phase towards the Taurus full moon. So we saw on a larger scale as well, again, just that things really, it came and went without incident. And that's always nice. So that's always just kind of a little bit of relief, a little bit of harmony found, still rhetoric going on, but it wasn't quite as bad. So the same might not be said for this full moon in Taurus on November 5th. So, which is why I'm putting this video out a little bit early, because I wanted to talk about this even before I get into the November whole month, because this is really just kind of a sensitive time, I think, as we start off the month of November. So I really wanted to get into this. So the full moon in Taurus is known as the Beaver supermoon, and it's the second of 3 supermoons, and it's called the Beaver moon because the beavers, I guess, use it to make their burrows or whatever they make there in the water, or they make there, and because it's getting closer to winter. So it's really just kind of signifying that winter is coming and you need to prepare for winter. This in particular supermoon will orbit closer to the Earth than any other moon this year. So because of that, its close proximity to the Earth, expect its effects on us to be a little more intense. So higher emotions and higher, what it would normally bring will be a little bit accentuated. It will appear really big and beautiful in the sky, orange in color, so try and get out and see it, because especially it's perfect for a night, a spooky night, a couple days after Halloween. So that's the 5th, so it's right after Halloween. That's that Friday prior. So it comes along with the peak of the Taurus meteor showers. So if you look out, and if the moon isn't too bright, you can probably see this meteor shower, which has us reflecting on Taurian themes of stability, of gratitude for everything that we have in our lives. What we've built, our homes and our belongings and that type of thing. And it also gives us the determination to just keep moving forward, keep trudging on to attain our goals. Sorry about my cat in the background. He wants to come out and I'm not letting him. So he's just going to keep hearing this cat in distress. So a Taurus full moon, this Taurus full moon is an apex to really embrace all that we have accumulated in our lives. And, this is financially, materialistically, all while trying to remain grounded. So that's that Taurus that just really kind of holding their footing and staying grounded. So it's really, if you have accumulated a lot of money, if you won money, if you just have it, if you have nice things, don't let it change you. Just be you. You don't have to be somebody else just because of the things that you have and the money that you have. So it's also a time to release what no longer serves you. This is what you do at a full moon. You let go so that you can go along, releasing what's no longer beneficial to you. This can be maybe, as something as simple as just gathering clothes, household items to give away to charity. I have about 4 bags going, a bag that my husband even made, of things that I just don't need. Now that I have a different job, I don't need all those fancy clothes and everything that I had for that kind of more, I don't know, just a little bit, more stuffy kind of job, I guess you could say, than I have now. So I have a lot of heels I can get rid of. I have a lot more sneakers coming in. So, and that Venus generosity is about giving to those in need. So this can also be in your relationships, letting go of what doesn't serve you. It could be relationships, it could be a job. It really depends on how it falls in your chart. And just really, when you took that time to look into yourself introspectively, what was it that what part of your life were you just not feeling happy? And what can you release so that maybe you can gain that happiness and just kind of let it go? So it's kind of a who or what doesn't serve you, and who can be actually detrimental to your progress of moving forward. With any phase, there's a lot more layers. So this moon phase, of course, it's a full moon, and full moons are always intense. This one's going to be super intense. There's the super moon, of course, really close. But there are so many other more layers with the planetary aspects and placements, and those, how they all play in, which just kind of makes each full moon, new moon, anything its own. With the polarity of a Taurus full moon, it's going to have the sun in Scorpio, as always. That would be ruled by Mars. Scorpio is ruled by Mars, which give us really a totally different vibe than when the sun was in Libra with that new moon, with that, so it's a little bit more intense. It's a little more, when you're digging deep, you're digging really deep when you're in Scorpio. So you're really, your emotions can be high, but a lot of people kind of keep them inside. With that Scorpio, it's not quite the outward of emotions that you see with like Cancer. And as that Taurid meteor shower is the gratitude is that gratitude for what you have. The Leonid meteor shower, it comes hot on the heels of this full moon, so it comes right afterwards. So the Leonid encourages individualism and leadership, as it is in the Leo constellation, so Leonid, and it will really bring on the fire, I think. So, and I'm only adding this in because of that, because it's just another layer that kind of ties in with what we can expect with this new moon and all the other aspects. You always want to see things in kind of threes to know if things are going to kind of be meaningful or going to happen. So it ties in with this deep, passionate Scorpio, further emphasized again by all the other aspects that are going to be going on. So we'll get into all those as well. First, with the full moon, the ruler is Venus. So we want to look at that. Now, she's at 28 degrees of Libra, really preparing to leave the comfort of home and her comfort zone. That's the sign she rules, Libra. But she's going to move into Scorpio, which puts her into detriment. So, detriment doesn't mean it's going to be this horrible thing. Of course, it happens all the time. But it can be uncomfortable. So she's not going to be in her comfort zone. She's going to be kind of uncomfortable because Venus likes everything nicey and not that Marsy kind of, aggression or, jealousy. You want to have things a little bit more peaceful. So it kind of gets us to think, where might we need to get out of our comfort zone? So maybe, something a little uncomfortable, and this discomfort might be something that we need to heal ourselves. So it's that, again, that going deep and facing the things that are really bothering us, that are problems, and kind of getting up that courage to do it, because sometimes we just don't want to see it. Sometimes we just want to kind of ignore the bad things that are going on and just, kind of to go blissfully unaware. And this can be, again, in your relationships, in your jobs, in your spending, in your whatever. Venus is also going to be squaring Jupiter, that's in Cancer. So Venus is going to be going into Scorpio, but right now it is in the air sign of Libra. So, but going into the water sign of Scorpio. Jupiter's in Cancer, and she's square to that, and she's also square to Pluto in Aquarius. So that creates a T-square. This can be a really challenging aspect because it's like it's a square, but something's kind of missing. This is going to be an air and water, so it could be obsessive. It could be controlling our thoughts. So our thoughts could be just, kind of overwhelming us and really fueling our emotions. So we could be overthinking a lot of things. Or it could be knowing our minds. In our minds, we know what is best for our hearts, no matter how uncomfortable it makes us. So this is what I mean about wanting to put this video out early and kind of like letting you guys know, start thinking about it. Like if you're in, a relationship that isn't working out, maybe you should start the planning phase of getting out of it. Same thing with a job. Maybe the people that you work with, it's not working out. You need to get out of that. Maybe it's the, spending problems or in financial detriment that you need to start working on to get out of it. So this is the things that we might need to work on that might be a little hard to face. You might want to just stifle these thoughts. You might want to just I don't want to think of them. I don't only want to think about, positive things and not this negative, using, Venusian things also, overeating, overspending, over imbibing to kind of make those thoughts go away. So you kind of get your mind off it by going on a spending spree, which could actually add more to, the detriment that you're going to, that, Libra's going in, or Venus is going into. But again, take the time to really face these fears and face these issues. and face this discomfort in order to put an end to them once and for all. Scorpio is that deep introspection, the things that we don't want to face. But with the sun being in there, opposing that moon, with that full moon phase that's really close, really intense, it kind of pushes us to really kind of face that and dig deep into like our psyche and just kind of like go deep into our emotions to try and heal. And now this can really, again, play out differently with whatever you're dealing with. If it's just finances, well, not just finances, but if it's finances, it's really kind of just like, okay, what am I doing wrong, and kind of going there. But if it's a relationship, you might have to get out of it. We have an applying opposition with Jupiter applying to Pluto, an opposition, and is also squaring Chiron. So Jupiter, it could be that crisis of faith. It could be our belief systems being challenged. Along with Mars, the ruler of Scorpio, where we have the sun in that opposition to the moon in Taurus, Mars is opposing Uranus. So that is taking quick action, and just, making it happen. It could be something really fast, but it's yet another aspect really of rebellion, maybe impulsivity, lashing out, overreaction, leading to conflict. That could be on a larger scale, maybe if things are really getting to you with what's going on in the United States, say for instance, you see that people are acting out without regard, like what I said, with planting that seeds of, you got to get your guns and attack ICE agents and do this, which isn't productive for anybody, and it's just bad for everybody. So, these are the things that you want to just be careful of. It could really be, and what I say, with what you're working on is really how it's going to play out. So it could be, again, something as bad as that, like where you're contemplating actually trying to go out and hurt somebody. Personally, say you're looking at, breaking free from a relationship. Maybe it's an over-controlling marriage, Jupiter, Pluto. So maybe you're in a marriage where your spouse is over-controlling. That's that Jupiter, Pluto trying to control you, causing that crisis of faith. Maybe you don't believe in divorce, and that Jupiter in Chiron. But the fear of being alone might be, keeping you there. So that could be that crisis that's going on, and you're like, I'm just going to deal with it because I don't want to be by myself. But deep down, with, again, your head tells you what your heart needs, and that is to be free of it, to be free of this toxic relationship, and that is that air and water T-square. That's going to be difficult, but your mind knows what your heart needs. So it's about making it happen and facing that difficult decision. Others may be challenged, for example, with, again, the government shutdown, for maybe, and people aren't getting paid. We have no idea how long this is going to last. Hopefully by the time that this full moon, it'll be done. But it's already been quite a bit of time. I think over 20 days as when I'm making this. Maybe you're not getting the benefit checks that you need, welfare, SNAP, whatever is being held back, and with no end in sight. Of course there could be conflict because there could be panic. So this is what some people could be going through, and this is what could cause people to act out. Or we see, with that, again, that confrontation, attacks on authority that kind of were, seeds planted with that new moon, with people saying, you have to stand up, you have to fight, you have to do whatever you need to do to stop things from happening. Well, you really can't just do whatever you need to do. You can't just go around killing people. People for calling, for action against ICE, the National Guard, even, the president. Those who feel oppressed are going to be the most vulnerable at this time, because those emotions are just going to really just be hard to control. And also those standing up for the oppressed. When we saw that with the person that killed Charlie Kirk, that person was standing up for who he felt was oppressed, and he felt that, I guess, that killing Charlie Kirk would solve that. And it really didn't do anything. Instead of cause more pain and division all around. So those horrible things fueled by emotions that could happen, and especially with those Leonid meteor showers, you're wanting to be that hero, you're wanting to be that person that makes a name for themselves, and I want to be something, and you find heroism in harm, and it's just not a good way to make a name for yourself, really. It's my opinion, and hopefully it's your opinion too. But these aspects really spotlight hidden desires and shocking revelations about, ourselves or others. Maybe you're finding things out about someone that you like, oh my God, like Mercury in its pre-shadow that actually starts, I think, on the same day, if I'm correct. It's really clinging to Mars and Scorpio. They're really close together, not at an exact conjunction, but really close. But we may see these violent tendencies and people's fantasies like coming out in, the media maybe are putting it out, or we're finding things out about maybe our partner that we like, oh my God, how could you say something like that? And maybe something coming up from the past. Maybe, again, like it reminds me a lot of those leaked texts that came out from that Virginia Attorney General nominee that was fantasizing about, I think he was shooting his opponent at the time and fantasizing about harm coming to his opponent's children even. And so something like this, especially with that polarity in Scorpio, it can get very dark. And many of us can find ourselves in a very dark place. So, and just unwilling to do anything about it. Just like thinking that the only answer is to do something irrational. But then that you kind of rationalize in your own head, not you, but that people rationalize in their own head thinking I have to do this because of X. And even, those thoughts is just bad for us as a society, or as just a person in general. If you're in a relationship that is, not working out for you, you don't want to just kill the person you're with. You want to just get out of it. And if you feel you are being controlled in a relationship and you don't feel like you can get it out of it without, maybe killing the person because you're scared, seek help somehow. But do not do something to harm others, because that will end up harming yourself in the long run. You're going to be in prison or dead or who knows what. But don't harm others if you feel oppressed, especially even by laws or shutdowns or ICE agents or the National Guard or bosses at work that, whoever you're disagreeing with, whatever that disagreement is, don't let the violence take over. Don't let those bad and intrusive thoughts take over and cause you to do things that you can't ever take back, and that will kind of, change your life as you know it. Violence is really never the answer. So again, try to heal yourself with this waxing moon. Try and see things maybe from a different perspective. Look inside yourself and try and figure out what am I capable of, and what are my dreams? What do I need to do to fulfill them? And how do I really, go about being truly happy? And in this X relationship, X job, X whatever, am I truly happy here? And if you're not, you either need to get out or you need to figure out a way to fix it. So hopefully that's what everyone is working on, and we still keep that peace and that mediation that Libra new moon brought, and just kind of that happiness. And we have continued peace in the Middle East, I hope, as well, because things just keep getting volatile over there, and just hopefully everything will just stay nice. And maybe even with a little more mediation, we'll see peace talks coming through with Ukraine and Russia as well. So please let me know what you think in the comments. I'd love to hear what you guys think. It also helps boost the channel, because really I need all y'all's help to grow the channel. It's hard to do it by myself, but hitting that like button and subscribing, and especially telling a friend and maybe sharing videos so others can see. Maybe they'll get an interest, and then you know, maybe they'll want to get notified of other videos coming out. So I can't grow without all of you, so I'm asking for your support. Hit like, hit subscribe, and I hope to see y'all soon. And good luck with the new moon. And we have next week the astrology forecast for all of November, and it looks like a doozy for Thanksgiving. So I look forward to seeing y'all then. Bye.